In today's Leeds news, Elland Road groundwork begins. Tanaka's future's in doubt. 12 internationals becomes 11. Premier League to trial 1 minute keeper option. And a rumour mill story on Jonathan Burkardt. Morning, folks. Welcome to the Leeds View for Tuesday, the 24th of March with your Leeds United news. Hope your week is going well so far. We did the podcast out last night, myself, Paul, and Jerry. Jerry was in brilliant form last night as well, to have a little bit of a look back at the Brentford game, a little bit of a look ahead to what will come up after the international break, and a look at what the other sides are doing and where everyone sits now that we've got a couple of weeks just to digest the season so far and get ready for what will be a pretty nerve-wracking run-in. I would love to know your thoughts on what we thought the run-in will look like towards the end of the season. The next 3 games for Leeds, for me personally, could be where Leeds just get it done and dusted, and fingers crossed they can. There's a bit of stuff to get stuck into today. It's quite a busy Tuesday, so I won't hang around. We'll get stuck into it, and we'll start off with Elland Road redevelopment work. When it comes to the Elland Road redevelopment, a lot of people have said, I will believe it when I see it, and you can't really blame most people for thinking that way. But when it comes to Elland Road's redevelopment, the owners have said it would happen regardless of Leeds United's divisional status next season, and that the groundwork was all planned to kick in May this season when the season finished. And finally, after decades of false promises, false dawns, and mixed messages, it now appears that the work has started on the Elland Road's redevelopment. Pictures circulate on X over the past day or so show holes that have been dug in the ground that look like part of foundation piles that would go in, and the image is in the area behind the COP at the moment. You can see the industrial units behind it that are directly behind the COP stand. We've also seen markings that have gone on the ground on the back of the West Stand that move from the end of the current West Stand all the way back to Fullerton Park to show you the size and scale of what that new West Stand will look like. Both of these stands look like they're going to be absolutely massive in scale. The COP one looks like it's going right back into the car park, so that gives you an idea of how far back it's going to go from the existing one. It's interesting at this point, but the work has already started. There will be some hospitality shifts apparently from the West Stand in behind the COP. That could be temporary porta cabins, that kind of stuff that are likely to go in. But they're moving ahead now, and the groundwork has begun. So look forward to seeing what it's going to look like in the next 12 months. We move on. Next story up is around Tanaka. And before I get into this one, just to say this is an exclusive that's coming from Team Talk. So just take this one with a little pinch of salt right now, but it is an exclusive and it relates to a player going out and news coming from Germany. So there's a little bit more to this than the normal rumoured stories. According to Team Talk, they say Leeds United could look to sell out Tanaka this summer as interest is growing in Germany in the Japanese international. Tanaka himself is also said to want to have more game minutes, and from a Leeds financial perspective, we only spent £2.9 million bringing him in from Dusseldorf, and if they were to sell him this summer, they'd likely sell him for a considerably higher price than that, meaning from an SCR and PSR model, it would bring in a nice chunk of cash for the club. However, I think most of us would rather if Tanaka was kept around the place, given more minutes, utilised more. I think the reaction from the Elland Road fans when he was brought on against Brentford says everything that anyone needs to know about this situation. He got a huge reception, a massive roar went up around the ground when he came on. But Team Talk say that their sources believe that there are 3 German sides that have shown interest in Tanaka, and some of them have already contacted Leeds to do the groundwork on a potential move. Schalke and Hanover are said to be the 2 sides that are mostly interested. Both of those sides are pushing for promotion to the Bundesliga from Bundesliga 2, with Schalke currently sitting top of Bundesliga 2. The other club that are said to have some level of interest in Tanaka at this point are Union Berlin. But at this stage, according to Team Talk, their interest is said to just be as an option right now, with no concrete talks or moves having happened. Team Talk say that at this point, Leeds United's stance on whether they will sell or keep out Tanaka has yet to be decided, but they aren't ruling out a sale at this point. Personally, and this is my own personal opinion on this, I think there's a lot more that we can get out of Tanaka. I think he's shown signs this season of a player who can be very important to Leeds if we decide to play slightly more progressive football in there and take more risks. I think he's a perfect fit in that midfield. And I don't feel he's been utilised enough since the turn of the year this year. So you can let me know your thoughts on this one down below. I would love to keep Tanaka around, but I'm a fan of Tanaka, so I'm slightly biased on that one, but I would like to know everyone else's thoughts on this. But yeah, lots of interest in Germany. You would imagine to be interest from Premier League clubs as well, given the type of footballer that he is. He's very tidy on the ball. He's a good striker of it, good set piece taker. Interesting one. We move on. Strange day yesterday for Ilya Gruev. Everyone was sharing news about him winning the Bulgarian Player of the Year award, and he was off on international duty to enjoy himself with his national colleagues. But then news came out yesterday that he had withdrawn from the Bulgarian national side, and Leeds have an absolute ton of players this time around out on international duty. We've all got our fingers crossed that they will come back in good health. You've got Carl Darlow, Ethan Ampadu, Joe Roden and Dan James away with Wales. You've got Tanaka with Japan. You've got Brendan Aronson with USMNT. Gabby Gudmundsson with Sweden. Jakob Biel's off with Slovenia. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is back in the England squad. Joe Pirou has gotten his first call up to the Suriname national side. And Noah Okafor has finally been recalled to the Swiss national side, which he is absolutely made up about, when I'm delighted for him. But yesterday, Isaac Johnson from Leeds Live shared information on Ilya Gruev, and he said the following. Ilya Gruev has withdrawn from the Bulgarian squad this break due to personal reasons. There's no detail on what those personal reasons might be. We know there has been issues in the past between Gruev and the current Bulgarian national team management side. It's not clear if that's what the issue is again, if something's gone on there, or if it's a family or personal related issue at this point. And fingers crossed it's nothing too serious on the player's personal side. But we all hope that all of our international players will come back fit and healthy. We'll have watch-alongs for the Ireland and England games over on bigup.com. If you want to join us for them, you can. But yeah, fingers crossed they all come back healthy. But Ilya Gruev will not be one that we have to worry about coming back fit and healthy for the FA Cup game against West Ham straight after the international break. And what will end up probably being the most convoluted solution to the tactical timeout issue, former Premier League referee Dermot Gallagher says Premier League are set to trial a 1-minute outfield player removal while goalkeepers are getting treatment in order to fix the current issue that has happened around tactical timeouts. He believes that the 1-minute reduction in your 11 players will be enough of a deterrent to sort the issue, and has described it as a sensible fix. Now, personally, I don't think it's a sensible fix. I think the very obvious answer is staring everybody in the face, because tactical timeouts are done for a couple of reasons. One, for the manager to have a powwow with his players. That's the most obvious and basic one. The second one is to disrupt the flow of the game. And the third one is pure and simply time wasting. If it comes to time wasting and disrupting the flow of the game, they're going to have an argument on the pitch around which player has to go off, which is just going to lead to more time wasting and create its own unique problem on the pitch. The most simple answer for this is staring everybody in the face. When a goalkeeper is getting treatment, players are not allowed to approach the sideline, and all coaching staff from both sides must be seated in the dugout. The game is stopped. There's no reason they should be standing anyway. Make them all sit down. There it is. Done. You can't get information on the pitch. At least not to the bulk of the players. Sorted. But no, the Premier League will go down the more difficult route instead of following what the women's game have done, which is simply just ban the players from going to the sideline. End of story. But there we go. We'll likely see a brand new issue created next season with the trial of this, and we'll see how long it lasts as well, because it's a new rule and they don't tend to last very long. But we'll move on. Get into the rumour mill, and this one's got a little bit more weight to it than normal. There's far more detail at least, and this one has come out from Sportsboom via Ekram Kanor. And Leeds last summer had some fairly ambitious targets that they were trying to get over the line when it came to strikers and attackers. The track record, though, wasn't great when it came to actually getting those players over the line, especially when there was competition involved in it. And a lot of players have already been linked with Leeds this season would also fall into that quite ambitious bracket. So they've got their work cut out. Now, some people yesterday said, why are we talking about transfer links? Because Leeds won't do any of this work unless they're in the Premier League next season or know what division they're in. But we know from the 49ers that they will get their shortlist ready at least 6 months in advance. And any club who isn't lining up players for next season for either the Championship and Premier League are likely going to leave themselves short once the season finishes. And with it being a World Cup summer, it's a shortened transfer window in terms of the availability to speak to players. So Leeds will likely be getting their shortlist ready, optimistic or not. But this one really does fall into that bracket of being probably more on the aspirational side than any other one. And according to Ekram Kanor, who was writing for Sportsboom, he says that Leeds United, along with Crystal Palace, both are said to have interest in Eintracht Frankfurt striker Jonathan Burkardt. Burkardt is described as one of Bundesliga's most consistent strikers and wants to move to the Premier League this season. He's known for being a fairly clinical finisher. He's known for his high pressing statistics. He's known for his high energy and is described as being fairly tactically disciplined as well. The German striker at this point, according to Kanor, is only labelled as a target at this point. And he does also say that Brentford and Nottingham Forest have had some interest in him in the past. Palace are expected to try and replace Jean-Philippe Mateta in the summer when he moves on. He's expected to go. And Burkardt is one of the players that they're said to be keeping an eye on. Now, from Eintracht Frankfurt's perspective on this, they're described as being open enough to a sale of the German striker, mostly down to the fact that they want to bring in different types of players next summer, and they need a wage rebalancing done as well. So they do need the funds in, but only if their valuation of the player is met. Burkhart's contract also runs until 2030, so there's no short-term discount option here for Leeds. It is on the longer-term contract that Leeds tend to go for, and the valuation of the player is said to be in and around 45 million euros, so that breaks down to somewhere between 37.5, 39 million pounds. So again, would be a record signing for Leeds if they were to go and get that one done. Sports Boom say that representatives from Leeds and Crystal Palace have already started negotiations with Eintracht Frankfurt, and they've contacted the players' management team to get the groundwork done on a potential move, or at least to suss out whether the player himself would be interested in the move. They also say that if Leeds United do stay in the Premier League, that they are expected to be the more aggressive side to try and get this one done, as Leeds tried to get Strand Larsen in the January transfer window and didn't get him. Burkhardt's not exactly what you describe as the same player, but would be an interesting foil for the likes of Calvert-Lewin or even Lucas Meche. He's 25 years of age. He's 5'10". This season, he's got 9 goals in 11 starts. Now, he missed part of the season due to little niggly injuries since November into January, but he is back fit and healthy. He got 2 goals in the Champions League this season. Last year, he scored 18 goals in the Bundesliga in 28 starts. And he, again, as I say, he's described as a fairly clinical finisher. He ticks some of the boxes that Leeds would go for. The pressing statistics are interesting one to line up. The energy, the goals per minute as well, are all really, really interesting. It would be an aspirational signing. It would be a difficult one to get done, especially if Brentford can sneak into Europe next season and they're looking to bring in a player who is currently playing in Europe. The player wants to move to the Premier League, so that helps out a little bit. But how Leeds finish the season might go a long way to determining what players think about Leeds if they're interested in moving to the club, or if Leeds do approach them, whether they believe Leeds is the right club for them to come to. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. We'll probably do a shortlist video over the next week or so while we've got time off, just to line up what exactly have been linked, what we think the reality of any of these links actually are. Because, you know, as I always say, just take it with a massive, massive pinch of salt. At this point, we will see. It does appear from the shortlist that we're putting together that it's left backs, centre backs, 10s and 9s that Leeds are looking at. But there's the odd winger in there as well. We'll wait and see. Folks, thanks for joining me today. As always, you can check out last night's podcast, myself, Paul and Jerry having a chat, and yesterday's video is available as well. And if you're listening on the audio platforms, please do give us a follow and a channel rating. We'd really appreciate that. Outside that, have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon. See you later.